Okay, so thank you very much for Mr. Swee's sharing of mindful walking. Meantime, while our colleagues are setting up the seats for the panel of discussion, I just want to reflect on what Mr. Swee have just spoken and brought us through the 4 to 5 minutes of mindful walking virtually. I think nothing beats really mindful walking in reality, in nature, and I strongly encourage those who are interested to really follow up with Professor Kwa and the Namas group to see how they could participate in some of their programs. But I was reminded that as we look at mindful walking, it's not just being aware of the present, but it's also important to be aware of our own breathing, our own biological rhythm. And I think it's the pairing of the biological rhythm and the focused attention of the present that actually makes a great difference, especially when we walk in nature. So without further ado, allow me to invite our panel of discussants, Mrs. Swee, Professor Vincent, and Professor Kwa to the front. And we will look at what are the questions that our webinar participants have posted. Some of them have been answered online. Some of them we will post it to our colleague here. Yeah. I think there's one question very quickly. Professor Vincent, I think was presented to you, is that they would like you to address how would the forest prevent dementia?
Well, we have to take dementia in a setting of total health. So the forest affords us the opportunity to go out to walk, and walking is important in controlling risk factors like hypertension as well as diabetes. When we go out to walk and we mix with people, we feel happier, and depression is relieved. Anxiety is also relieved when we mix with people. These are very important aspects that we will deal with. The mental aspect, that the challenges that dementia poses to us, but at the same time, we take care of the risk factors. There's hypertension, poor circulation to the brain, which can be aided by walks and exercises.
Thank you very much, Vincent. I think there's another question that was posted. I think it was presented to Mrs. Wee. I think many of them are very interested to really investigate further into mindful walking. How can they learn?
Like I said earlier, mindful walking is one of the aspects of the whole of the mindfulness practice, which actually focus first on the body, and then, as you saw on the slide just now, then on the internal working of your own mind, on your feelings, your emotions, and your thought processes, and then the different states of mind. Yeah, and there are many centers. You can Google them, which actually teaches how to do mindfulness. Rather than mindful walking, they teach you the whole of the mindfulness practice. And mindful walking is one aspect of it. So, yes.
Thank you.
They are out there. The classes are out there.
Good. And there are two questions posted online which are related to mindful walking. So I would read them out, and then maybe either Mrs. Wee or Prof. Phua could address that. So there was a question posted online. Is there a mindful group that walks through the forest coming out soon so that we can join? And second question is that, would there be benefits for wheelchair-bound people to be wheelchair under the trees?
Prof, you can answer that.
So earlier, Mrs. Teo Po Yim mentioned about the relevance of a study that will be extended or translated into the community. So I understand that many of the elderly groups in Queenstown, Eunos, Bishan, they are keen to learn more about the therapeutic forest. So we are organizing a training program in NUS to help them understand. It will be a 4-week program, a training program. But also the Age Well Everyday program is very organic. We move with time and add new activities. It's not static. The program has has three phases. Firstly, it is evidence-based, it is structured, and there is measurable outcome. That's so wonderful about the Age Well Every program. And so we're going to introduce therapeutic forests soon, and already a lot of takers.
Thanks, Prof. Hua. There's one question which is again related. Do you recommend walking alone or as a group? This question was posed by Eng Tat, and he mentioned that he prefer doing it alone.
So there are two theories of walking mindfully through the therapy forest. There are some people who enjoy solitude. They walk to the forest, they sit down, and they write poetry or write a song. So that's wonderful. Others like to walk together. The Nama study, we want to build up social capital. We want people to know each other. And so the upshot of it, as I mentioned in the pandemic, they begin to care for one another. So there's all this social connectivity, which is very important. The Nama study is important because we discuss about aging in place. Many people are living alone. If people know the community well, the neighbors well, they can come in to help them out. So whilst we want to have a bit of solitude, it's also good to have a group of friends to come to help us.
Good. Thanks. And there's one question that's directed at healthcare professional. How can healthcare professionals help to promote social and mental capital among older adults? We have two healthcare professionals here. I have the privilege of moderating.
So I think the point mentioned by Professor Vincent Chong is very important. Mental capital has to do with our cognitive reserve, our brain reserve. And so if you don't take care of our own health, our brain reserve falls and we have early memory problem. If you take care of our own health, you can still keep this reserve for a long period of time. That's why 80% of the NAMAS group are still working part-time or full-time. And this mental capital is important. And even those who are not working, they play a big role as volunteers. So they play a big role for the society. That's what we mean by mental capital. Mental capital doesn't end when you retire at 65. There are lots of things that people can still do. And they play a role in voluntarism.
Yeah, thanks, Prof. I would just also like to add on is that I think as we all aged, it's not so much of what professional background we bring along or bring with us, but it's really our unique life experiences that we share with the rest. And so it's not something that only mental health or medical practitioner or healthcare practitioner can contribute. Actually, every individual can contribute their unique life experiences in such a group or in such a reflective experience sharing. Yeah. Okay. Any other further question as I scroll down? The questions keep on coming in, there's a lot. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's one there. Can you achieve mindful walking with a group of walkers taking into account of distraction? That means they talk among themselves. I think that's a very apt question about building social capital. How can we...
I will address that. I will address that. Because this is exactly where the difference is. Because when you walk in a group, then it actually gives you that opportunity. Because the solitude, you're by yourself, then it gives you the opportunity to just become aware of the external, as well as your own internal emotions that may be arising. But the minute you walk in a group, then talking to one another is almost impossible. I mean, it's almost a given to be quiet and walk by yourself. The friends may wonder whether there's something wrong with you or you're upset with anybody in particular, and why are you walking, ahead all by yourself. So I think if one is really serious about taking up mindful walking, then you can always combine it. Sometimes with friends, right, for this social capital, and then other times on your own, so that you can really deepen your own mindful practice and also deepen your concentration. And in that sense, then you will have your experience will be a lot more in-depth and insightful as well.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Wee. I think that brings to two very important points about resilience. You find that in many attributes that build resilience comes to a point where it differentiates someone who is cognitively flexible as well as being a flexible person. The options that they have actually enhance the resilience. So I think it's important to be reminded that we can walk alone at our own time, to be more reflective, to be more in touch with nature in solitude, as what Mrs. Swee said. But there's also time. There's a time for social capital building, social cohesion building, and socialization. So I think there's a season for everything. Yeah? Okay, one more. One last question. I was prompted. I think otherwise we'll run out of airtime. Do the participants, okay, don't make it too small, I cannot read. Can you make it bigger? This is aging. Do the participants in the NAMAS study group know each other, or do some of them know others? How did the researchers control for social dynamics, that's a good point, with the findings for social health in the study? This can also include personality type. Oh, okay. Prof. Kwar and Prof. Vincent.
It's a very searching question, and I'm very glad to take it on, because this is a qualitative study. And so the idea was stirred up by the chairman of NParks, Mr. Benny Lim, and also our friend Mr. Abdullah Tamudi, our former Speaker of Parliament. And we proposed to get a group of friends. If we go and get a random sample, we will probably be talking about methodology for the next 1 year. So the friends are mainly the friends of late Mr. Wee Sin To, and a few others came in together. So in many ways, they may know or may not know each other. So the personality types all been selected by Mr. Wee Sin To. We had to put up with it. And as you realize, as correctly when Mrs. Wee mentioned that along the way, there's some people who are a bit more garrulous. You'll talk and talk and talk. And she'll remind me to next week's walk, can you remind that gentleman not to talk too much? And sometimes I will ask the gentleman, you're supposed to be a bit more quiet. He's like, well, I've not met Mr. Abdullah Tamuji such a long time. Why can't I just ask him a question, So these are long-term friends, but there's a time for this, as Professor John Wong mentioned, the time for everything. So I told them that you can walk mindfully, but at the end of 2 hours, you are going to the coffee place, and there you can have a more discussion. So there will be some personality types, but this is only a qualitative study, and we hope to build up to a bigger study. We're hoping now to get involved even our students, because resilience is not just for seniors, even for youth and adults from the university and the other parts of the island.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have come to the close of the Q&A. Please join me to thank the panelists and the speakers, Professor Kwar, Professor Vincent, and Mrs. Wee. Yeah. So it gave me privilege and pleasure to thank everybody for attending this event, both our live participants as well as our live webinar participants. In the memory of our late Mr. Wee Sin To, we have set up a memorial fund to honor him as the founding board chairman of the Mind Science Center, to remember him as a beacon of driving motivation for the Mind Science Center. And we hope to raise funds for the Wee Sin To Memorial Fund with a book launch. And donations with a gift of $500 and above will receive an autographed copy of the book. And the gift will be used to fund projects in training, research, and outreach programs at Mind Science Center and the Mind Art Experiential Lab, which I mentioned earlier on, across 3 major domains. One is building early childhood resilience. Second is helping seniors age well, like the AWE program. And the third is to give more energy and resource and driving motivation to the Mind Art Experiential Lab and the Mind Gym. So with this, I'd like to thank everybody for your support, and especially mention the many donors who have pledged as well as donated, and also Mr. Sia Fu Hua for his personal support and attention in this fundraising program. Thank you very much. I'll hand over to Angelia.
Hi, we have come to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for your participation. You'll be receiving a post-event survey via Zoom. Please participate and let us know what you'd like to see in our future events. And also, please join us for an upcoming webinar, the Tao Tien Seng Lecture on Ecology of Longevity on 7 November. We hope to see you and have a nice weekend. Bye.